Summer just isn't complete without a pinch of the fantastical mixed with a coming of age story. So this year we got Whiskered Away, a story about a girl who somehow gets the power to turn into a cat, and then she meets this boy, and essentially that's where the movie starts. The movie starts after all this has happened. So essentially we know that she's been meeting him every so often as a cat, and all that other stuff is told through flashback. First off, I think that was a huge mistake because the boy meets girl scene is a huge pivotal scene in these like romance coming of age stories because you need these to build the chemistry. And without these scenes, if you just show us like the hype moments where he meets her and she falls in love, then that's fine if you have the build up towards it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I show you like an epic shonen fight scene, then I'm gonna be blown away because I have all the backstory. I know what they're fighting for. But you just see cool animation or cool super move goes boom and the characters fall down or do some kind of super blast that covers the screen. You won't have that history. And we don't have that history for Mio and Hinode. We don't see them together and I don't see their chemistry at all. Not to mention the fact that when we see Hinode with our main girl, he shuts her down. Like she's very forward with her love for him and he like constantly says no. So the movie starts and I'm not feeling it, and from there we're shown Mio has like this really destroyed or this uncomfortable household where we're told that her mom left her. We don't know why her mom left her, but her mom left her and her dad remarried, found a new wife or a new mom for her, and her new mom is not a bad person. She's clearly trying her best. I think these were like the most powerful scenes overall in the movie. Like I feel so bad for the dad, man. Like these scenes where they're like having this sit down family dinner and her dad is just like trying to bring the two women in his family like closer together. He's trying to engage his daughter, he's trying to engage his new wife, he's trying to bring them together, and they keep trying to like shut him down. Actually, it's mostly just the daughter that's shutting him down, and you can feel the pain, man. I can feel this dude's pain, and I can feel the struggling as his new wife or her stepmom is trying so hard to connect with her, but it's not working. From here, we find out that she's been sneaking out to meet up with Hinode in her cat form for quite some time now, and I wish we would have seen more of that because they definitely need that chemistry. I don't feel Hinode with Mio makes sense. We need to see these scenes. These scenes need to be shown to us. Sure, they're kind of boring, and they probably don't add much to the actual plot of the story with like her cat powers and stuff, but I think it's key to like getting their relationship just right. We also find out the details on how Mio can turn into a cat with her cat mask power thing. As it turns out, she met like this cat merchant who sells cat masks and human masks. So he sells the cat mask to a human who wants to become a cat, and in return he takes the human mask and gives it to another cat. That cat becomes a human, and then obviously that human stays as a cat forever. And right here, I'd like to point out to like the Better Business Bureau that this guy, this cat merchant dude, when asked directly what's in it for him, he says he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart, when in reality, the reason why he's doing this is because he can take half the lifespan of the human that turns into a cat forever. So when he gives the human mask to another cat, and that cat becomes a human, he takes half the lifespan for himself. Even though he says that later in the movie, he doesn't say that then. And you might be wondering, like, why does this matter? Like, this isn't really that big of a deal, Roion. Like, he didn't tell her the truth. Like, he's a villain. What do you expect? Well, the reason why I don't like this is because you have a lot of these stories where you have our main character kind of grow as a person due to their own mistakes. But because he withheld the information, it, like, sets him up as, like, a true villain in this coming-of-age story. Like, she doesn't grow as a person because she made a mistake. She kind of got fooled and hoodwinked, so it wasn't really her mistake in the first place. So it doesn't really make sense for her to like grow as a person. Anyways, let's shift gears here and talk about the boy. Let's talk about Hinode. So we know about like all of Mio's backstory and why she has like this tragic thing going on in her family. Hinode, on the other hand, he's got like a pretty okay upbringing, a pretty good home. But the problem is that he has a dream. He wants to become a pottery person, just like his grandfather. But his mother is like, we can't do this. Could you just please study and go to high school and stuff? And he's like, no, I have a dream. High school is a waste of time anyway. Just let me pursue my dream. I know what I want to do. Let me do what I want to do. And honestly, that's a pretty admirable story, like this story of parents like forcing their dreams upon you, but then you wanting to do your own thing and standing up to your parents. Like that's a very typical coming of age story, and it works a lot of the time. The only reason why I side with the parents here, like Hinode, sit down, Hinode.
Why are you gay?
We need to talk. You see, your mother and I have been talking, and we get that you want to do pottery, and we get that your grandfather is an epic uber chad who got you into pottery in the first place, but could you at least finish high school? Like, I don't think I'm asking for too much here. You see, me and your mother have been talking, and you're still really young, right? You still have your whole life ahead of you. We don't want you to, like, close doors while it's still early. You never know. Like, something might come up, maybe pottery will go down the drain. Maybe the economy will completely collapse, and you're going to have to find a real job. Not saying that our grandfather isn't doing a real job, but you might need to put bread on the table. And to keep your options open in, this modern society, me and your mother have been talking, and we think you should finish high school before you start chasing your dreams. Maybe this is like a side effect of my Asian upbringing that's making me biased towards the parents in this scene, in like the scene where he talks to his parents where he wants to become a pottery person and he chases that dream, and I admire that. But at the same time, the life expectancy in Japan is like, what, age 100 or something? So just spend about one-tenth of your life going through school, and then you can do 90% of whatever you want for the rest of that time. You can do whatever you want. Just finish high school. I don't think his parents are too demanding by asking him to finish high school. He could just screw around in high school and just not do any homework and just do pottery and just get the piece of paper and be done with it. Like, I'm not asking you to work hard, son. Could you just finish high school and then do your pottery dream stuff? Like, you could be doing it at the same time. We could, compromise or something. This reminds me of another coming of age movie that kind of also really felt weird to me because it was a little bit old. It's called Whisper of the Heart. It's a Ghibli movie, and essentially it's another coming of age story. But at the very end of the coming of age story, the main boy proposes to the girl, which blew my mind because they aren't even done high school. I get it. Like, back in those days, finishing high school was kind of like a big deal. But when you watch it in like a modern perspective, the fact that they would get married before she even finished high school or is in the middle of high school just feels a little weird. Maybe it's like a generation gap or something. Anyways, going back to Whiskered Away, I'm going to finish off the Hinode plot because it essentially just boils down to him being inspired by Mio. And because he's inspired by Mio, he like stands up for himself and he like goes to his mom and he says, I want to work as a pottery person. It is my dream, mother. And then his mom just kind of caves and then allows him to pursue his dream. And I really thought it was kind of a touching moment. But in the back of my mind, I still remember that one scene in the movie where his mom explicitly said that they can't afford to keep the shop open. They cannot afford to keep it open. They're losing money. They're hemorrhaging money. They have no choice but to close it down. And his grandfather is getting old. It only makes sense. So I'm not sure how they're going to fix that issue. Like, that issue is still existing. The problem of the shop not making money is still there, and yet she caves to him just suddenly standing up for himself. As an audience member, after seeing that scene where his mom talks about like financial troubles, I expected them to solve those financial troubles before allowing him to continue pursuing his dreams. Like, I get that his parents want like a better life for him and they were trying to force their ideals onto him, but I also felt like a major reason why they didn't want him to do it is because it was not lucrative enough and they weren't making enough money to really afford to keep the shop open. So I just find it strange that the movie would bring up that plot point only to never talk about it again. The way I would fix this is essentially just to cut out all the financial trouble stuff and just make his mom super overbearing, and it makes sense because his dad is dead, right? And since his dad was a pottery person and also died, like, maybe his mom wants a better life for him, and just make his mom really overbearing, so it makes sense for him just standing up to his mom is enough to get his dream, up and running. Whereas instead, by talking about like financial troubles and making his mom seem very reasonable, it just seems really weird that they would cave so easily and all their troubles would be fixed so easily. I guess essentially what I'm saying is Hinode's whole backstory thing and his troubles feel kind of like an afterthought. After all, he is kind of like the side character. He's not the main character, Mio. So getting back to Mio, to make essentially a very long story short, we found out that she runs away from home. After running away from home, we found out that the cat mask seller sold her human life to her house cat, and for a while there, we think her house cat is the true antagonist, as she essentially points out all of Mio's faults. She's like, hey, look, your stepmom's not perfect, but at least she's trying her best. Look at your dad, he's also trying her best. Could you stop being such a awful daughter? So I'm going to take your place. I want to be the good daughter that you could have been. I thought this was one of the more brilliant points of the movie where they could have used this to like a really good extent to show like the contradictions that Mio's been living. Like she wants Hinode, but at the same time she's like shoving away other people. Like could have shown the hypocrisy and how Mio acts and all this really really good stuff, and kind of show the character flaws, and then have real Mio grow as a person and then take her place as the person she was always meant to be, and say sorry and do all that good stuff. But instead, it's used mostly for comic relief, and in the few scenes where Cat Mio gets chastised by, I guess, the new human Mio, it's really done verbally. Like, we don't really see any of this stuff at all. From there, Kinako, the new Mio, like Kinako was the house cat that turned into Mio, so Kinako, which is now Mio, gets cold feet and wants to go back to her cat form. So she goes from antagonist back to like not antagonist, like a side character, helping our main character Mio turn back into human. And this is where things kind of get interesting, where we meet other humans that have been turned into cats. And essentially these used to be humans just spell out what this movie means. They literally just tell the audience like, we turned to cats because we ran away from human life. It was too hard. We just decide to choose to live in a fantasy rather than face our problems head on. Like the movie just spells out what it means to you there. And I think that's fine. I mean, it could be done in a more tactful way, but it gets the job done. And after reading or hearing that spiel, I essentially knew that the movie was practically over, because from here Hinode and Mio, they're going to work together. They're going to, get some real chemistry going, and then they're gonna turn back to humans, and maybe we'll get a kiss, but at the most we'll probably just get like hand holding or something. But I held out hope for the mystical, fantastic stuff to really weave its way into the plot. And what I mean by that is, we know Mio's mom left her when she was young and has only recently come back. And we also know that when people run away and they come back as somewhat different people, we know that they've maybe been replaced by their cat. So what I'm implying is that I thought Mio's mom was one of the cats that was in the bar that used to be human. I thought her mom left her because she couldn't accept the responsibility, and I thought that's how they were going to tie this all together. I thought they were going to tie all the cat transformation stuff and her like family issues all together through this method. But instead, we really find out nothing about her mom. Instead, her mom is just kind of relegated, and in the after credit scene, we see her patching things up with her old mom and her patching things up with her new mom. Like, I can't be the only one that sees the missed opportunity to intertwine the mystical and fantastical parts of this story with the mundane parts of this story. I think that's the biggest thing holding Whiskered Away back. The absolute biggest thing holding Whiskered Away back from being like a Kimi no Nawa, like those big coming of age stories, is the fact that the fantastical, the little mystical power stuff doesn't interweave itself into the regular plot enough. It does a little bit of that with Hinode and like her stepmom and Kinako, but at the same time, it leaves out so much with her dad, it leaves out so much with her mom, it leaves out Hinode with his problems, it leaves out so many things. It's not intertwined closely enough. I feel like that was like the perfect opportunity to bring Mio's mom back by finding out that it was actually a cat and she's sorry for the things she's done, but she can't change history and she will move on. And she will move on. It'll help her mom move on, it'll help Mio move on, and it'll tie everything together. But instead, they're just regular cat human people that used to be human. They don't really do much other than spelling out the moral of the story, which I feel like was like a missed opportunity. All in all, like, I'd say this movie was very, very okay. Like, it's not very amazing, but it's not really bad either. There are a few key scenes that I thought were really well done, and a few key pieces of animation that were really good, like wallpaper material. Like, one of the scenes where we see, like, the big tree behind the sunset, I thought that was really nice. None of the OST stands out. Like, the soundtrack doesn't stand out to me at all, other than the ending song. Nothing really stands out. It's very okay. It's very by the books. It plays it very safe. Actually, I was expecting Mio and Hinode not to get together, because I felt like Hinode shut down Mio a little too hard, and Hinode cares about her, but he doesn't care about her in that, like, romantic of a way. Not to mention the fact that they're not even in high school yet, and he was like, maybe let's wait, let's see how things pan out. Or maybe Mia would be like, look, I looked at you, our love, as some kind of crutch for things that were going on at home. Like, I don't know if the feelings I have for you are still real after I overcame those things. Let's start fresh. Let's, explore our options and stuff. I expected it to go in that direction, considering the amount of troubles Mio had at home. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem with this movie is the fact that you just don't feel the chemistry between Mio and Hinode. for a crazy person like me, I can like point out all these weird things that kind of like put me off. But for like your average normie that's gonna watch this movie, that's the thing that's gonna stick out to them. They're just gonna be like, there's no chemistry between the boy and the girl. We don't see the love. We don't see the sparks. So it's really holding it back from being like that Kimi no Nawa, being that really epic, amazing coming of age romance story. Anyways, that's really all I have to say about Whiskered Away. I mean, it's alright, it's not terrible, but it's not super good either. It's okay. It's okay, guys. It's okay. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.